I am known as a defender of LeBron James, and one of the things I have said about this is people say he's got an ego. Well, of course he does. I mean, listen, if go to Twitter, if you're the number one salesman in Des Moines, Iowa, you've got an ego. The best basketball player on the planet for 14 years can't have an ego. Michael Jordan didn't have an ego. Kobe didn't have an ego. And I would argue Kobe was never the best player in the game, although he was certainly artistic and fun and exciting and won titles, but he was never the best in the game. Tim Duncan was for some of his peak years. But be that as it may, it's interesting. So LeBron has struggled in January last 3 years, and I've been kind of like, it doesn't mean anything. He's bored out of his mind. Because I think the Western Conference is more of a grind. I mean, Paul Millsap, Paul George, Jimmy Butler, Melo went east to west. All their numbers have gone down. Victor Oladipo was a marginal player west. He's an all-star in the East. Blake Griffin has only been there about a week, but the 3 games he's played with Andre Drummond, analytically, they're tearing it up. Blake Griffin was maybe the 12th best player in the West. I think he's about the 4th or 5th best player in the East. But it's very funny. Steve Kerr was quoted Saturday night saying, "My guys are fried." That was his quote. "My guys are fried." Now think about that. This Warrior unit has been in the spotlight for 2 years, really 1.5 with Durant. They're 41-12. Steve Kerr is like, we are fried. Here's Steve Kerr Saturday night.
Our guys are dying to get to the All-Star break. We're limping to the finish line with the All-Star break. And but we got to fight through to the break, and then we need to get the hell away from each other and go sit on a beach and relax, and then we'll be in great shape.
Now, just think about that. We all like Steve Kerr. We think he's honest, authentic, and a real dude. I used to cover him. He's great. He is saying, my team, being in the spotlight for a year and a half, they're fried at 41-12. LeBron's been the most talked about guy for 14 years. In the East, where Goran Dragic, if he was in your living room, you wouldn't notice him, is an all-star in the East. Where John Wall leaves the Wizards, and they're better without him. Folks, is it possible we could scale back a little on LeBron and say, he's bored and a little fried? The Warriors have been in the spotlight for an hour, and Steve Kerr says, our guys need to get away from each other. LeBron's been the talk of the league for 14 years in the mostly embarrassing Eastern Conference. Can't you give him a little space on he's sort of bored when he looks down and goes, Jason Tatum, John Wall and Bradley Beal, Victor Oladipo, Goran Dragic? One, he's bored, and it is possible that he's a little burned out. I said this last week. I think the percentages are low on this. But I don't think it's 100% off the board that LeBron would retire for 1 year to recalibrate. Jordan did it twice. Just think about this. Michael Jordan, without social media, retired twice. People said gambling, burnout, too much. 15 years. Steve Kerr's like, my guys are fried. Some of this in Cleveland could be he's worn out of us, teammates, the spotlight. He's worn out. I'm going to give him a little pass on that. Doug Gottlieb now joins me. Good to see the Duggar, or his show after mine on Fox Sports Radio. Only guy that can wear a suit with orange tennis shoes, and it looks fantastic. You know, I try that with my wife. I tell her all the time, Gottlieb does it. And she said, Gottlieb's younger than you, and he played basketball professionally in Europe, and he's allowed to wear tennis shoes with suits. You're not.
They're 29th in defense. Like, you're changing the whole. Now he's bored. They don't play any defense. You know, he's mad. He's mad.
Why?
Because Dwayne Wade's washed up. Because Jay Crowder's a shell of the player he was last year. Isaiah Thomas is not as good as they thought he would be. And coming off the hip, he plays no defense. Kevin Love's great on offense, bad on defense. Now he's hurt again. Tristan Thompson's a Kardashian. Look, dude, if he wants to be away from social media, stop going on social media.
Could I make – but what? Is it possible?
Yes.
Just throw it out there. I'm not saying it's a high percentage.
What?
But that he would take a year off and recalibrate and let the – by the way, have you seen the 2019 free agent class? And kind of just pick his spot.
Well, he can pick a spot anyway, can he?
it would be better if I knew where everybody, Clay was going, Paul George was going.
Well, I think one of the things that speaks to LeBron's greatness is wherever he goes, someone will want to follow, right? That's the whole argument against Kobe Bryant. Like, if Kobe was so awesome, how come nobody wanted to come to the Lakers and play with him, right?
Yeah.
Okay? People still want to play with LeBron. Like, I think LeBron has his flaws. There's no flawless human beings out there. There's no flawless, even great basketball players. But one thing is for certain, that though there are things about being LeBron which can be tedious and tiresome, the fact is, he is a great player. You are going to contend for a championship, and he does like other people scoring and getting shots. So there are plenty of guys that want to play with him. And if he goes to L.A., there's a good chance Paul George goes with him. I think what's fascinating is he hasn't been playing with the same verve. And maybe it's January, or maybe he's so upset at the way in which this thing has gone down. South in a hurry. In a hurry, that he's kind of not playing to force their hand to trade that first-round pick that they acquired that's from the Brooklyn Nets or whatever, in order to go get me another player to try and fix this thing. I don't think ultimately that works, but I feel like that's a more likely possibility than I'm going to shut it down for a year. You mentioned Jordan did it twice. The second time, it was a real retirement. He only came out of retirement because his management skills with the Wizards was so bad, he had to try. He's like, fine, I'll do it. I'll show you I can do it. And he still wasn't terrible late in his 30s.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.